over 70 economists, academics, and political leaders from across the world are gathered here in São Paulo for the 4th Dilemmas of Humanity Conference, Perspectives for Social Transformation. This conference, which began on April 7th and ends on April 10th, aims to bring together these leaders to discuss not only the crisis facing the world's population under capitalism, facing increased levels of hunger, inequality, unemployment, and other social ills, but also bringing together these people to actually come up with concrete proposals to overcoming these problems and how to build sovereign, productive economies that are able to break out under the chokehold of international institutions like the IMF, the World Bank, and the US-dominated financial system.
This has been a really interesting conference because it's about thinking about different ways in which popular movements and intellectuals trying to support popular movements can really work with practical policies to make things better for ordinary working people. If you consider the way in which progressive governments have tried to help people by stimulating economies which are dynamic, which provide lots of employment, jobs, but also good, well-paying jobs, you immediately come up against the power of imperialism, the power of transnational corporations to destroy those experiments in popular power and improvement in ordinary people's living standards. So here we've been thinking about ways of trying to defend ourselves against that. Different kinds of policies that can protect governments from financial crises, from currency crises, from sanctions. So it's been really interesting hearing comrades from different parts of the world talking about their experiences in trying to stop the onslaught of attacks that popular movements and progressive governments face in the world today.
Working class internationalism and solidarity across our various struggles is very important, and it oftentimes we don't find the moments to do that, and with this Dilemmas of Humanity conference we were able to do that in a real, genuine, intentional way. But it's also important in this moment for instilling hope in people because our communities face various kinds of crises, and to be able to gather with the intention to think about the possibility of transformation, but not just that it's possible, but that we need to do it together in solidarity.
Well, I think it's given the historical conjuncture at which the world today stands, such gatherings and deliberations are extremely important, because this conjuncture can be defined as one in which capitalism the world over has created a crisis which is not just a crisis of capitalism itself, but a crisis for humanity, where we are confronting the very serious possibility that humanity's future itself may be under severe threat. So it's not just a question of that there is a temporary economic set of difficulties that have been part of the history of capitalism throughout. But this particular crisis is one in which really there are challenges that humanity are facing, and the logic by which the world is working is one in which is driving them further and further away from any kind of action to resolve the crisis.
This conference has gained even more importance in this week especially, as Donald Trump last week on his so-called Liberation Day announced reciprocal tariffs to be put on nations across the entire world, even his most loyal allies politically and economically of the global north. These tariffs some of them were suspended, but Donald Trump decided to levy a 125% tariff against China, its biggest competitor in global trade.
I think China prepared to anti any kinds of the imperialism, bully actions from 1949 till now, through the anti-American imperialism, Korean War, until the tariff trade war. So the Chinese will never withdraw from such kind of the struggle. So that's the basic principle for Chinese people. And China itself, we also carry on to fulfill our common prosperity, common rich tragedy to serve all the people. That's our power comes from our Chinese people. I think Donald Trump's such kind of action express a kind of the class struggle in America. So the American peoples will determine their own future. So for our American people, they themselves will also suffer from this kind of the cruelty terrified. So in that way, Global South people should hand with the American people to against such kind of the things.